2014 just feels like, it's hard. Like remembering her, it feels like it was yesterday, and then you look at the date and you think, oh my God, where did that time go?
All right, whenever you're ready.
Cool. Hello, I'm Rebecca O'Reilly, the Nurse Unit Manager at Bateman's Bay Hospital on the South Coast. I'm here to tell you Mrs. Dean's story.
Hello
To everyone.
in Half Scarborough. Oh, I don't know.
My mum was around about, I think she was 4'9", tiny little pocket rocket. She was the mother of 7 children. She loved us all with sugar. Her favourite thing was cakes and biscuits, and she wasn't a great cook. She was just somebody that loved to eat lots of sweets, so she bathed us with sugar. I was having a glass of wine with a girlfriend and she said to me, how's your mum, Chris? And I said, oh, you know, she's pretty good. I said, she's got 9 necklaces on and had, 12 bracelets on today. I said, I think she's turning into Mr. T. And my friend said, Chris, I used to work in aged care. I think your mum might have dementia. And my response to that was, I don't have time for my mum to have dementia. I just lost my father to cancer. Take 2.
Take
Take 2. I watched so many YouTube videos when I first got the diagnosis. I felt like I got the diagnosis, even though it was my mum. That I wish that someone had have kind of told their story. So I was so hungry for knowledge on it. With my father having a terminal diagnosis of cancer, I just kind of knew how it was going to end. With an Alzheimer's diagnosis, I didn't know, how does it end? How does someone die from dementia?
On the 15th of December in 2014, Mrs. Dean had a fall at home. She was brought to the emergency department in Bateman's Bay and observed. After 7 hours, she was discharged home in the care of her family, and her daughter was to stay the night with her. Later on that evening, around 10 p.m, Mrs. Dean sustained another unwitnessed fall in her bathroom. She was brought back to the emergency department via the ambulance. The ambulance handover notes stated that Mrs. Dean was confused and her speech was garbled.
Then something happened where my mum started to see spiders and ants and things crawling up curtains in the hospital, and I didn't really know what was going on. At that stage, her behaviour became really odd to me. I believe that they had given her some medication, obviously, for pain relief, and that had put her into my very first delirium. I didn't know what delirium was, so I had to Google it to see what it was and why she was seeing ants.
During that evening shift, Mrs. Dean was moved from the close observation unit to a 4-bedded bay.
I left her happy, sweet little face and told her to get some rest and that I would be in the next day.
At 2 a.m. on the 18th of December, after being admitted, Mrs. Dean's IV therapy started to alarm. Mrs. Dean thought that the machine alarming was a fire alarm. She believed that the hospital and her room was on fire and pulled out her cannula and ran to the corridor towards the light. Mrs. Dean was calling for help and sustained a fall in the corridor. She suffered a large scalp hematoma and had pain in her right shoulder.
I came back in the next day and my mum was a completely different human being. She was very aloof and she had a very bad bruise on her head and she had a broken collarbone from a fall in hospital.
Oh, my
Hello
God.
to everyone in
Coffs. Hello, everyone in Coffs Harbour.
Yay! She was fairly independent and she was going really well, and we all got together and decided that we would hire this amazing big house up in the hinterland of the Gulf of Coffs Harbour. And we'd all have Christmas together, 18 of us, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and Mum was going to be the matriarch and sit up there, and we had her set up. We're going to all have Christmas together. All of a sudden, Coffs Harbour's not going to happen.
Within 24 hours of being admitted to the hospital, Mrs. Dean suffered a fall and sustained a significant injury. While some interventions to reduce her risk of falling had been put in place, there was no documentation to evidence a comprehensive falls risk assessment and a management plan.
The impact wasn't just so great on the family, it was all such a huge impact on Mum because she lost the confidence. The fall had left her with a wheelie walker, something that she would have considered just an old person uses. She was unable to walk without it then. She became very dependent upon it, and it was her very first trip to respite. The care kind of had to increase. Then we had a couple of more falls. And she just lost so much independence due to that shoulder fracture was the start. And I could just never get her back. I just wanted to get her back to that health that I had just before Christmas, but it wasn't to be. Eventually she had a fall, getting out of the recliner, and she came down and she hit the coffee table. She didn't want to go to hospital, so I packed my jammies and I just went in and put ice on and put a pillow between her legs and rolled her. And I just slept with her all night. And we talked, and she was pretty fine until around about 5 a.m. It seemed like the pain had just collectively gotten so bad that I couldn't toilet her. So I had to ring the ambulance as much, and Mum agreed at that stage that they did an x-ray. I went to the doctor and he put the x-rays up and said that she had fractured her hip, she'd broken her hip. I went back and Mum was kind of dazed, but she knew enough. I just said, "Mum, you've broken your hip." And she said, "Oh, love, that's not good." And I said, "We're in trouble." The doctor rang me, and I'd just finished an auction, and he rang and said, did I want Mum to have the operation to repair her hip? And I said, "Oh, so will it repair itself?" And he said, "No." So I didn't really understand what he was asking. Do I want my mum to lay with a broken hip, or do I want it fixed? I said, no, of course I don't want her to load bear, because she won't be able to walk, she won't be able to load bear, and then she's going to be in a wheelchair. I don't want to see that for my mum. So the obvious choice was, yes, operate, please. They were going to phone Canberra and Bega and work out which was the best. I said, "Oh, look, Canberra's where my sons are. It'd be good if she went to Canberra," but Bega was the decision that was made. I asked the hospital, I said, "Can you just ring me, because I'll just down tools and go with her and it ended up going to Bega. I'll go to Bega with her." I got a text message around about 2:30 just to say that Mum was waving happily in the back of the ambulance and had taken her. So I rang Bega Hospital when she arrived and asked to speak to her, and they said that Mum was sleeping. What I didn't know is that Mum was in full delirium, in the heaviest delirium I'd ever seen it. She was catatonic. They thought that she was severely demented. They didn't realise that my little mum was eating banana bread with me the day before, and here she is, just not able to communicate. So I got down there Sunday morning, and the anaesthetist met with me. He was a lovely fellow, and he made it very clear to me that Mum's broken hip was a terminal event, and that the chances that she was going to pass away in the next 30 days was really high. I kind of thought, oh no, this is the way it ends. And I couldn't believe that no one had told me that my mum wasn't going to be able to rehabilitate with dementia. A broken hip would mean that she was going to die, and that they were only doing this to keep her comfortable in her last days. And she looked up at me and she said, "Bub, am I going to die?" I said, "I hope not." She said, "It's my time and I want you to help me die. Will you take me home?" I took my mum home on the Thursday night, And she died with me, just her and I, when all the family had left. She died with me on the Saturday night. And I guess that was how it was going to end. And I lost my mum. But if I went near her, if nurses went around her and changed her dressings or anything like that, she was just completely non-responsive. But if I fluffed her pillows up, she put her arms around me and she hugged me because she knew it was me. So they never really leave you, even when they're in their darkest hours, through all the drugs and all the delirium. My mum still knew who I was. My mum had the fall that took her to hospital on the 20th of December. And my mum died on the 23rd of May. And she was 77 years of age. So I lost her 5 months later. She hopes everyone's having a good time, don't you?
Oh, I know they'll be loving it.
They will be.
Yeah.
Okay. Good night, guys.
Oh, it's just beautiful.
The lessons that we have learned from Mrs. Dean's story are these. A falls risk screen assessment on admission is crucial and preferably done in the emergency department. Handing over of this information from the emergency department to the ward is also critical. The information gained from the falls assessment must be translated into a management plan. A delirium screening and development of a management plan will significantly reduce a patient's risk. Wherever possible, a patient with a delirium should be placed in a high observation area to be nursed with a patient special and a communication plan built with the family's involvement. Families are often willing to stay with a patient if they are educated about falls, delirium and the risks associated with both. Patients, particularly those with a delirium, should not be moved around the ward, especially in the evening and night, unless it is absolutely necessary. The good news is that at Bateman's Bay, we have not had a serious fall in the past 18 months. Across the board, our falls numbers are trending downward. To date, 79% of staff have attended the 3 state-approved falls modules on HETI Online. Just this week, we have launched the REACH program at Bateman's Bay Hospital. This program is designed to give a voice to patients and their families while they are in hospital. This program gives the patient and the family the tools and information to request a clinical review if they have concerns about their care.